Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of What on Earth to Eat Now, especially to all our subscribers. If you do watch these videos and you haven't yet had a chance to click that subscribe button, please do. It really helps us out, helps us to keep making these videos. So let's get to today's recipe. So today is the first of our 2 Valentine's Day episodes, and I'm going to be showing you how to make poached rhubarb with fresh vanilla custard. It's a really delicious dessert and incredibly simple. So I've got about 800 grams of this beautiful forced Yorkshire rhubarb. It's a really special thing at this time of year. It's very seasonal, and that kind of neon pink really cheers up any kind of grey day. So I'm going to start by just cutting each piece into about 5 centimetres. You want everything to be roughly the same size so they cook at the same time. So I'm just going to take my rhubarb and I'm just going to cut it like so. And you can use the first piece you've cut as a rough guide. I've got one lovely vanilla pod here, and I'm just going to scrape out the seeds. Just pop that in there like so. I'm going to pop the pod in as well. I've got 225 grams of caster sugar, so I'm just going to pop that in there. You do need a fair bit more sugar than you'd think because the rhubarb is just so sharp. I've got my 3 bay leaves here. And finally, you can use any kind of orange or clementine. I've got some gorgeous blood oranges here, so I'm just going to give that a good squeeze. I'm just going to use my hands to give it a really good mix. So I've given that a really good mix. You've got this gorgeous pink sort of syrupy sugar. Doesn't get more Valentine's-y than that. I'm just going to put it in my roasting tin. Just going to use my hands to scrape out all the lovely sugar and vanilla. What you want to do is you want to make sure that each piece of rhubarb is flat on the tray. That way you're going to get a lovely even cook, and it will be holding its shape once it's cooked. I'm going to seal this up with some tin foil. I'm going to make sure it's nice and tight. No gaps. So I'm going to cook this in my oven, which I preheated to 180, for about 10 to 15 minutes. One thing to bear in mind with this is that it will suddenly go from not cooked to completely overcooked, mushy compote in the blink of an eye. So what you want to do is you want to be very mindful of the fact that you have it in the oven, and I would say after about 8 minutes, have a little peek and see where you're at. And then you're going to have just perfect, pink, beautiful rhubarb ready for lashings of your delicious custard. So whilst the rhubarb's cooking, I'm going to quickly make possibly the simplest custard I've ever made. And all you need to do is you take 230 grams of plain unsalted cashews, and you soak them overnight or at least 12 hours in plenty of water so they become soft. So I've got my cashews here, and I'm just going to put them into a high-speed blender. Into that, I'm going to put 250 ml of unsweetened plant milk. I've got 125 grams here of caster sugar. That goes in as well. I've got 2 vanilla pods here. You could use the bean paste if you don't have vanilla pods. And that's all there is to it. So I'm going to blend for about 2 to 2.5 minutes. You do need a high-speed blender for this, otherwise you'll end up with something that's a bit grainy. So anything that you might use to make a smoothie or something like that will be absolutely perfect. Well, that was very simple. No scrambled eggs here, completely no stress vanilla custard, and you can serve it warm as well, so it's incredibly versatile. I've got my beautiful rhubarb here, and I'm just going to spoon a couple of pieces, like so. Gorgeous pink Et voila, your beautifully roasted, bright pink rhubarb with a very easy vanilla custard. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of What on Earth to Eat Now. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you again next week for another episode of What on Earth to Eat Now.